A blue badge can be a real lifeline for people with disabilities or health conditions, helping them to park closer to their destination. But the number of badge thefts in London has more than quadrupled in the last decade.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? Last year, more than 6,000 were stolen in the capital alone. Some blue badge holders are being forced to take extra precautions to keep theirs safe, as Paul Hawkins reports.
Another blue badge stolen in the capital. 6,415 last year. That's up 400% in 9 years, according to figures from the Met.
Anyway, here's the car. So you come down and you find it and you're like, oh no, and the badge is gone.
Mick's had his badge nicked 4 times. No wonder he's now padlocking it to his steering wheel.
What I've had to do to stop it being stolen is get one of these. You have to put it inside.
Put it inside a holder.
Inside a metal holder. Then you have a PVC like perspex over the top, so that you can be seen. And then you put that through, and then you lock it to your steering wheel. Since having this, it hasn't been nicked yet. And you'll see on the street there are 2 other blue badge holders just over the road, and they've also got padlocks on. The blue badge is part of sort of being liberated. If I come down and find my car has been robbed and my blue badge has gone, then I'm suddenly much more restricted. And that is really what a blue badge is for, is to open my world up.
So what would be your message for the people that are selling them?
If you're paying £2 for an out-of-date one and 5 for a one that's in date, which is apparently what they're going for, unbelievably, then surely that's a lot of parking. You'd have to park a lot.
We asked the Metropolitan Police for an interview, but no one was available. But they did send us a link to one of their web pages called Prevent Theft from a Vehicle. There's 11 steps, and number 6 is take it with you or hide it. In other words, if it's valuable, hide it from view or take it with you. So how useful is that for you?
Not, because you can't keep your blue badge out of sight because it's the thing that allows you to park. That's ridiculous.
I mean, what would be your advice then for other blue badge holders?
Well, to be honest, one of these padlock systems seems to be the only way forward. The only thing is we need to have a redesign of the blue badge system. My photograph and details are on the back of the blue badge, which means that everybody, the public, traffic wardens, the police, can't see if it's meant to be being used by me. Stealing people's blue badges is one of the things that, as we know, is getting more and more prevalent, so it's actually disabling people more.
Paul Hawkins, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now by Paul Slowey, who's the founder of Blue Badge Fraud Investigations, which is a community interest company which works with local authorities investigating badge fraud. Good morning to you, Paul. Thank you for joining us. It just sounds absolutely disgusting behaviour, really. Why has there been an increase in this? Why are people taking such drastic action to get hold of this badge?
I think using a stolen badge enables the criminal to park for free, and I think there's very little detection. I'm quite shocked that the police advise disabled people to do something different to prevent the crime, rather than the police investigate the crime, or solve the crime, or prosecute people. The serial numbers on the front of the badge, there is a national database of the badges, and it's very easy to key in the serial number into that database and detect that the badge is stolen. We seized a badge just north of Leicester Square yesterday that was stolen, and speaking to the driver, he said he'd bought it in the street in Leicester Square yesterday.
Paul, we were talking among ourselves here about this earlier this morning, and if the cars can be registered to a database for the tax disc, can there not be a similar system where car number plates could be registered on a central database and then parking enforcement could check that, and it removes the need to have a badge on display?
The badge is issued to an individual, not to a vehicle. So Mick might go in a different car. He might go out with his friends. Lots of disabled people don't have a car, and they're driven around by friends or family, and family will use different cars. So The badges are issued to an individual, not to a vehicle. However, there is a database. There is a national database with all the badges on it, and it has those 6,500 badges that were stolen last year. The serial numbers are on that database. It's a simple task of checking the badge against the database. And if it comes up stolen, the badge can be seized. The car can be seized. Some authorities are brilliant at this, and they're doing a really great job. But the majority are doing nothing. The police are doing nothing. 2 weeks ago, there were 2 cars parked outside a police station with stolen badges, and the police were walking past them all day.
In which case, Paul, what do you think the solution is? How can this be stopped?
It needs to be enforced. If you actually enforce the law, people will lose the appetite to use a stolen badge. If there's a real risk of people being prosecuted for fraud, which is the offence, they'll stop doing them. They'll stop using them. The courts have got powers to ban people from driving. They've got powers to seize vehicles. And in some authorities, they're doing that. In some authorities, they're prosecuting 200 or 300 people a year. In others, they're doing nothing. I think, people need to raise this with their councils, with their MPs, and say, well, what's my council doing? And
Paul, as you say, the onus should be on stopping the crime rather than expecting blue badge holders to prevent it themselves. But we saw in the piece by Paul some of the strange advice, such as take the badge with you, which obviously doesn't make sense because it has to be on display. No. So what other advice do you have for blue badge holders to try and minimise the risk?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing is, as Mick said, lock the badge to your steering wheel. Secondly, don't display it overnight, because a lot of the thefts do happen overnight. But the emphasis shouldn't be on disabled people to change their behaviour. The emphasis should be on the police and local authorities to actually enforce the scheme and eradicate the use of stolen badges. And that will solve the problem. I'll give a quick example. When I was younger, they didn't have barriers to travel on trains. They didn't have inspectors on the whole. And a lot of people used to travel on the trains for free. They introduced barriers. They introduced inspectors, and they started to enforce the scheme by giving out fines, and compliance went up. And, we can increase compliance with the blue badge scheme, not just stolen badges, but the misuse of badges if the scheme is enforced. And in some places, it's not been enforced. It's been around for over 50 years. Some councils have never enforced the scheme, which is absolutely shocking. It needs to be enforced.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to speak to us about that. That's Paul Slowey, founder of Blue Badge Fraud Investigations. Thank you.